But I wanted to get to a bigger point. Because the time comes, somewhat pun intended, for us to take the gloves off when it comes to Jake Paul.
After I beat Mike Tyson, the amount of people saying this is rigged was crazy.
And I can break his mentality, then I've broken Jake. So this is why it's going to be an interesting fight, because I just don't look at it from a physical standpoint.
Stephen A. Smith reportedly reacted with shock after claims involving Mike Tyson and Anthony Joshua sparked renewed controversy around Jake Paul. Smith said boxing is reaching a breaking point, arguing that the sport must stop turning fights into spectacles. According to Smith, when boxing starts to feel like scripted business deals instead of real competition, it disrespects true fighters and damages the sport's credibility worldwide.
Kind of things that I'm talking about here. Boxing's a skill. Let me give y'all an example. Remember Francis Ngannou? Remember that monster? That Nigerian nightmare? Remember him? And then we saw him show up and show a little skill against Tyson Fury, who came there out of shape. What happened when he got into the ring with Anthony Joshua? He got put to sleep, much in the same way Nate Robinson got put to sleep. Boxing is a skill.
Anthony Joshua has made his stance crystal clear. When asked whether he would go easy on Jake Paul or follow any special rules, AJ dismissed the idea outright. He said he only fights for real, with no conditions. As a world champion, Joshua made it clear he won't risk his legacy on gimmick fights or scripted outcomes, and he will never compromise the sport for entertainment or money.
See, with Jake, what I learned about Jake is, so when you look at the physicality stuff, and as you said, he's looking at my chest, I think Jake is someone where I got to beat him mentally because he's a mental person. This is my observation. A lot of what Jake's preparation is based around is not only the physical aspect of training, but the way he thinks, meditation, breath work. And if I can break his soul and I can break his mentality, then I've broken Jake. So this is why it's going to be an interesting fight, because I just don't look at it from a physical standpoint. I know the person that's in front of me, and I know that I got to break it. That's why I said I got to take his soul. It's not just physical, I got to take your soul in the ring.
Only person that can do that is God.
I knew he was going to say that.
Is he f***ing with your brain?
No, I don't know. That's what I was gonna ask, is how do you plan on doing that? Like, when is it gonna start?
Because everything.
I mean, obviously in the fights it's different,
Yeah.
you know? But I mean, when are you gonna start taking it?
I've just seen in fights when I can see someone's, let's call it energy, frequency leaving their body. And that's what my goal is to do the same to you. You have that instinct. You can see it. When you're fighting, you can just see a small glimmer of someone that's just about to start fading. And then you just keep exploiting that, keep exploiting that until some people give up. Some people get knocked out. We'll figure it out. But as I said, for me, it's not just going in there and being dominating physically. I want to break him down spiritually and mentally.
That's some deep boxing.
Mike Tyson reportedly suggested that there were attempts to influence or script elements of the fight involving Jake Paul. Tyson explained that money was never a factor for him, saying he is already financially secure and that the bout wouldn't change his lifestyle. According to reports, Tyson agreed to step into the ring one last time for personal reasons, not profit, and resisted any effort to control or predetermine the outcome of the fight.
Walk away from this fight is not going to change my lifestyle financially. I'm a fighter. I feel good. I can do it. I feel I can beat this guy.
Come on. Well, we're going to be in the building. I'm going to be there. Speaking of the exhibition with Roy, like when that exhibition happened, man, I felt like it was two of my own.
Joe Rogan discussed what he sees as a recurring pattern in Jake Paul's boxing career. According to Rogan, Jake often selects opponents who may be physically bigger but are strategically safer in other ways. He suggested these matchups aren't random. Rogan argued that these fighters bring massive attention and name recognition, benefiting Jake regardless of the sporting outcome. Using Mike Tyson as an example, he explained that legends draw huge audiences simply by stepping into the ring. In that environment, entertainment value can begin to outweigh pure competition. Rogan hinted that some outcomes can feel tilted in Jake's favor, leaving fans questioning whether these bouts are genuine contests or carefully managed spectacles designed to maximize profit and visibility.
Different thing with that guy.
Well, it's like Matt always says, play to your strengths.
Yeah,
no
but you
doubt.
know, you got to take that payday. I mean, what did he make out of that fight? He probably made $10 million or something.
Yeah.
And Jake Paul's very smart, man. Like he gets guys that he's bigger,
Bigger
than.
than,
The only
younger
time
than.
he fought another boxer his size was
He
Tom
lost.
Fury, and he lost. Tom Fury?
Good
Yeah.
fight.
Tommy Fury.
Very
Tommy
good
Fury,
fight. Very good fight. You know, I think he's like any other young up-and-coming boxer. It's just everybody dismisses him because he's a YouTuber.
For sure. It's easy to dismiss him, but I was there when he knocked out Tyron, and I was like, man, I'm done with this kid. I was like, I never wanted to corner another fight in my life, man. I was like, yo, he just knocked my boy flat out on his face, man.
Jake Paul has pushed back hard against the accusations, dismissing them outright. He says the stories are fabricated by people who resent his success. According to Jake, claims that his fights are scripted are nothing more than excuses from critics who refuse to acknowledge his growth as a boxer. He emphasizes that boxing commissions oversee every event and would never allow illegal manipulation. Jake insists that every opponent enters the ring willingly and that he trains relentlessly to earn his victories. In his view, the constant accusations are proof that he's disrupted the boxing world, forcing traditional fans to confront a new reality they're uncomfortable accepting.
Mike Tyson, the amount of people saying this is rigged was crazy. They like showed this clip of Mike Tyson going to swing at me with a left hook, and he like stopped doing it, but saw I had my right hand up. So he would have like swung like this, I catch it and shoot. He's leaning forward like I could have knocked him out. So that's why he stopped throwing it. And it's like they play this one clip and it has literally 50 million views on TikTok, but the average.
The Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight exposed a clear and dangerous mismatch from the very first moments. Former UFC champion Michael Bisping reacted sharply, noting that Jake Paul was far from the level required to face an elite heavyweight like Joshua. He described the bout as a lesson in professional boxing, where timing, skill, and experience decide everything. Joshua's punches were precise and heavy, highlighting the gap in class. Bisping emphasized that the outcome was inevitable. Paul lacked the tools, defense, and ring awareness needed to survive against a world-class boxer at that level.
No, that wasn't the case at all. What we saw, in my humble opinion, because I'm a big Anthony Joshua fan. Of course, I've been a supporter for the longest time. A rather lackluster, unmotivated Anthony Joshua that didn't look like he was being particularly nasty, right? Yeah, a lot of the time he was out of range, and okay, it is hard to land a shot on someone that's backing up and moving away the whole time. And there was a lot of times where he had him in the corner and he could have thrown a shot. And sometimes he was telegraphing his shots. And anytime he did go in to throw a punch, as I said before, Jake Paul would shoot in and turn it into a wrestling match. And even when he wasn't shooting in, he was clinching a lot. This is boxing, it's not MMA as we know. The referee should have done a much better job of getting in there and separating them much, much faster. As I say, it was the 6th round. I think it was the 4th round he got dropped twice. In the 5th round he got through it. In the 6th round, caught him with the jab, a glancing right hook. He goes down, and that was that. That was all she wrote, right? I did a live. There was about 9,000 people watching at one point. Nobody was particularly enjoying the matchup. Listen, okay? I respect both men. I respect anyone really that steps into the ring, okay? And certainly going up against Anthony Joshua, that was a tall task, okay? You know, metaphorically and figuratively, right? It was a tall task. It was a big job. It was a tough opponent. It was a mismatch, and it was, right? Jake Paul never worried Anthony Joshua once. He never rung his bell. He never caused any damage. He never had him worried. He never did anything. It wasn't a fight. It was a display of how long can Jake Paul last? Can he run away long enough to...
Critics argue that influencer boxing has fundamentally changed the sport. With YouTubers and celebrities stepping into the ring, the focus has shifted from skill and legacy to views and revenue. Many believe these fights are now built around hype rather than technique. The art of boxing, once defined by discipline and mastery, has become secondary to marketing strategies. These events generate massive income through sponsorships and streaming deals, fueling claims that financial success matters more than the outcome. For traditional fans, influencer boxing often feels less like true competition and more like staged entertainment, with the influencer simply wearing boxing gloves.
boxing's pretty rigged overall.
Yes, Rick, dude. I mean, so many politics, even with, MMA, man, there's so many politics. There's no more art anymore. It's just, let's get an influencer in there. I get it. It's like generating money because our attention span is so short. You look at clips now, it's like 7 seconds. I saw a dude slamming a lady the other day and they were like, oh my God, that dude is, I'm like, well, what the do? I'm just gonna pick somebody and slam them. Where's the whole video? And our attention span is just so small. So money talks, of course. Yeah, let's get an influencer in there who has no style, but it.
The Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight has drawn intense criticism from fans and analysts alike. Many felt the bout looked unnatural, overly controlled, and unlike true high-stakes boxing. Tyson's legacy as one of the most feared fighters in history makes this even harder to accept. Viewers questioned why Tyson appeared restrained and why potential fight-changing moments never came. For critics, the fight epitomizes everything wrong with influencer boxing. It reinforces the idea that legendary fighters are being used to legitimize spectacles rather than compete authentically. As more footage circulates, scrutiny has only grown. Observers point to muted aggression and calculated pacing, rhythms that don't match genuine professional bouts, raising suspicion that the event was designed to protect certain narratives. While there's no proof of wrongdoing, the visual cues alone keep the debate alive. The fight has become a reference point in discussions about scripted or managed bouts, strengthening public doubts around Jake Paul's biggest matchups.
Netflix is currently being sued over their Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight. And it's not because people think the fight was rigged, though I have questions, and that's what we'll get into. It's because it didn't work, and a lot of people were buffering and unable to watch it despite signing up to pay for it. Now, the bigger question I have about this fight is, how come no one is suing over the fight being rigged? There's a lot of questions, and there's evidence piling up that suggests it may have been somewhat rigged. Now, there's varying degrees of arguments. The first is that Tyson was required to complete 8 rounds for money. Some say that's how it was rigged. He's not going to go all out to shut down Jake Paul because he wants $20 million. Others have said he was told he's not allowed to do uppercuts because that would end Jake Paul and probably hurt him very badly. Those are the two principal conspiracies, I suppose. One is that Mike Tyson actually pulled his punches completely and tried to avoid fighting, which falls in line with that first conspiracy, I suppose, of rigging. Now, of course, my friends, if you watched my video from before the fight, I thought it was going to be rigged for Tyson. Jake Paul doesn't look good having beat up an old man. I'm like, they're going to do something to have Mike Tyson win in the later rounds, and that way it'll be like the boomers and the Gen Xers who love boxing will see the champ fight one more time. Jake Paul is a young man. There's no harm in a young man losing to the great Tyson. They might say you got beat up by an old man, but it was Mike Tyson. But maybe Jake Paul's got too much of an ego for that. So I was wrong. What I was right about, I was half right. I said if Jake Paul wins this, people are going to be pissed. And it sucked. We all watched it, and then we were like...
Nakisa Badarian stepped in to counter the criticism, firmly denying any form of scripting or manipulation. He emphasized that such actions are illegal and impossible under professional boxing regulations. Badarian argued that Jake often performed better than the judges credited him in several rounds. According to him, losses and criticism are part of the sport, especially when popularity is involved. He believes Jake has gained supporters despite the backlash, noting that fame naturally attracts controversy. In his view, hatred often grows alongside success, and Jake's rising profile makes him a lightning rod regardless of the facts.
Against Anthony Joshua.
So that would have meant, 3-2 for Joshua heading into the 6th round, which again, a lot of people thought that he would dispose of him rather quickly. Can you give us an update on how he's doing? We know that he broke his jaw in multiple places, 2 places to be exact, and I believe he has revealed that he's had surgery since. How is he doing? How is he feeling?
He's doing great. Obviously, there's periods of time during the day where there's a lot of pain, periods of time where there is no pain actually. Recovery process is 5 to 6 weeks, and he's focused on coming back as a boxer in 2026. This is a sport that he loves. This is a sport that saved him from the path that he was on in the past. And I think in a funny way, I'm kind of glad he didn't win. And I know that may sound harsh, but imagine if Jake Paul, 5 years into the sport in reality, probably 3 years into the sport in terms of 3.5 years in terms of fighting top level competition who are fighters, beat Anthony Joshua? What would be the motivation to continue to get better, to double down on your training, to grind even harder had he had beaten Anthony Joshua? So Jake always says the best lessons or the best wins are from your losses, and I believe that happened with Tommy Fury, and I 100% believe that happened here. Because if Jake is truly passionate about this sport, he now realizes that he has to even commit more time, more resources, more days into elevating his craft.
So you know, the injury obviously is different than your typical injury, because obviously it's right there. That's where you're getting punched, and as we were talking about with Eddie earlier, like that could sometimes change the trajectory of one's career. And there are some people who don't come back. Some do. Some have had great careers after breaking their jaw. Is there any part of you after seeing that says to yourself, hey man, you've made millions of dollars. It's been incredible. We built this thing. It's lasting far longer than your career, right? MVP can be a thing with or without Jake. You saw the event in July. We don't need to do this anymore. You proved your point. I don't want to see you get hurt.
I think that's ultimately...
Jake Paul's behavior leading up to the Tyson fight added fuel to public suspicion. He openly declared he would win before even stepping into the ring. While confidence is normal for fighters, critics argue his certainty went beyond belief in preparation. His calm demeanor and assured statements led some to feel the outcome was already fixed in his mind. After the fight, Jake's reactions reinforced skepticism. His body language suggested satisfaction rather than relief or exhaustion, a stark contrast to traditional fighters, who often display visible emotional release after grueling battles. Supporters saw composure and maturity, but critics interpreted it as proof the fight carried little real risk. The Jake Paul vs. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fight triggered similar disbelief. Julio appeared unusually passive, throwing few punches and rarely pressuring Jake. Many viewers felt he was merely present rather than competing, fueling accusations that the bout was never intended to be competitive. Fans struggled to understand why an experienced fighter would show such low urgency unless motivation or intent was lacking.
Mike Tyson, successful. That's a really interesting choice, because it is a choice. And if you look at 90% of fights out there and you ask the person what's going to happen, they speak about what they're going to do physically. You know, I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to give him a beating. I'm going to win. Something about their capacity physically. But this is Mike Tyson successful. And if you really think about that, if you look at this fight and look at the outcome, I would say since one half left with $40 million and the other half, the sum that's being talked about is $20 million, yeah, I would say that's pretty successful. Basically what I'm saying is that the adjective successful doesn't necessarily speak to the result of the fight. It doesn't necessarily speak to his capacity in the fight. It could be successful monetarily. It could be successful in the sense that he lasted at his age 8 rounds, so he feels like that's a personal success. Then he says victorious, which I guess is much more related to him suggesting that he's actually going to win. He's going to be the victorious one in the fight. And it's interesting that he said victorious as opposed to I'm going to win, I'm going to knock him out, which is a more concrete promise, quote unquote. But still, that successful is really interesting to me, that's where his mind went first. Then, after he provides the answer, Mike Tyson, successful, victorious, he himself changes the subject. He immediately gets off the topic and says, today is Ramadan, it's my holy holiday, so I can't say how I truly feel. Which, saying that he can't say how he truly feels, really corresponds with that lip.
Paulie Malignaggi offered an alternative perspective, suggesting the issue may not be a fixed fight, but financial motivation. From this view, Julio's low punch output reflects a lack of preparation rather than scripting. Malignaggi explained that when fighters step into the ring primarily for money, their hunger to win can disappear. Without the drive, performance naturally suffers. This interpretation shifts blame away from Jake while still highlighting systemic problems in influencer boxing, suggesting the sport itself can incentivize fighters to compete for paychecks rather than pride.
A couple of shocking results. I think that Jake Paul undercards and the promotional arm of his brand, I think is the most fun part of what Jake Paul brings to boxing. Honestly, I think long term, I think that's what we can hold hope for. Because Jake's fights are, this one was borderline atrocious, and kind of the writing was on the wall. But I gotta admit, even I was even I bought drank the Kool-Aid, you know, and mainly I drank the Kool-Aid because Chavez Sr., who also is disgraceful for doing this, made me believe, you know, and I think, you know, this has been the problem with Chavez Jr. He's been enabled constantly by the media, the promoters, his family, all this other stuff. So he never really shows up prepared. He never cares and just shows up to get paid and basically steals the bag every single time. And he did it tonight again. The reason I actually thought this fight had a chance was because Chavez Sr. Guaranteed us that his son was motivated and was having a training camp. So as much of a Hall of Fame career as a father had, the con artist, I guess, must run in the family, because Junior has been a con artist his whole career, but at least he's been enabled through it, you know. But now the father doing this, I mean, you knew already your son wasn't going to be ready. You put your own reputation on the line and sold us this crap. And then ultimately your son throws what most guys will throw in a round. He throws it through 10 rounds. It was actually kind of...
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned for more updates, and we'll see you next time. S.